Hello and welcome to On the Bench, a new weekly sports discussion show for Lincolnshire and Humberside, right here on Channel 7. I'm Rob Underwood. On the show today, we'll be casting our eye over the big talking points from the world of sport and asking our studio guests to give us their views on the stories that have been making the headlines over the past 7 days. Well, joining us on the bench this evening to share their views are Jason Neilson from Cleethorpes Athletics Club and John McLauchlan from Fudishin Karate. A pleasure. Welcome along to the studio.
Thank you.
Jason, first of all, tell us about Cleethorpes Athletics Club.
Well, we cater from ages 8 years and up. There's opportunities to compete in track and field, road running and cross country.
I understand you've got a thriving junior section as well, and you achieved a recent medal haul as well. Tell us about that.
I believe that was at Wakefield. Yes, but our kids, our youngsters compete all the time, all around the country as well as locally, and they're absolutely brilliant.
And you had a busy summer yourself, didn't you, with the Olympics?
Oh yes, I was a gauge maker last year, based at Earls Court, where the volleyball took place, in press operations. I got to see the whole thing. Well, I got to see most of the matches, and Captain Walthamstow throughout the whole thing.
Proud moment for you. We can talk some more about that in a little while. John, tell us some more about Fudishin Karate as well.
Well, the club has been established for about 8 years. We cater for children from 6 years upwards, and over the years the club's attracted more families. So what I'm really proud about is the fact that we have families interacting with each other and spending sort of quality time together.
Okay, we'll talk some more about that. Karate, Jiu-Jitsu, there are so many different disciplines, and I'm sure it'll all become clear in a while. Now, if you saw the show last week, you'll remember our brave reporter Matt Denson going face-to-face in the ring with none other than Super Hooper, Kev Hooper. Well, you'll be pleased to know that we've given him time to recover from the intensive workout he got down there, but not too much time. This week he went for a training session at Grace Jiu-Jitsu. Find out how he got on later in the show. Also each week we want you to send in your sporting questions via Twitter using the hashtag OnTheBench or on our Facebook page. Just search for On The Bench and our resident opinionated reporter Stu Cox will be here to answer your questions on A View from the Estuary. So, a packed programme for you, but before all of that, let's have a quick roundup of this week's sports headlines. Well, Red Bull's Sebastian Vettel says his first Canadian Grand Prix win was a great race, but warns that there's still a long way to go in the season. The German triple world champion led the race throughout and finished 14 seconds ahead of the second place Ferrari of Fernando Alonso. Vettel leads the Drivers' Championship on 132 points, 36 points ahead of Alonso, with Red Bull's first Canadian victory furthering their lead in the Constructors' Championship. To football, Grimsby Town director John Fenty has said that the club have outlined their intentions for the upcoming season after a spate of summer signings. The Mariners have brought in Scott Kerr from York City on a one-year deal and last month signed Scott Neilson and re-signed captain Craig Disley. In tennis, Rafael Nadal coped with an on-court intruder and the Paris rain to beat fellow Spaniard David Ferrer and win a record 8th French Open title. 27-year-old Nadal came through 6-3, 6-2, 6-3 to reaffirm his dominance on clay and further elevate himself among the greats of the sport. However, the final was interrupted by a brief protest high in the stands during the second set that was quickly followed by an intruder leaping onto the court while brandishing a flare. And finally, the special one, Jose Mourinho has returned to Chelsea in an attempt to restore the club to the former glories that it was experiencing under his leadership before he left the club in 2007, you'll recall. Chelsea fans will be hoping that Mourinho gets the players back under control and brings pride and commitment to the club. And I guess that's probably a good way to start our chat with our guests. And commitment, we've been hearing a lot of reports this week about players wanting to leave clubs. Most recently, Liverpool's Luis Suarez hinting he's ready for a change. Do you think these players at their various clubs have the degree of commitment that's needed? First of all, Jason, what's your feeling on this? Kiss the badge, and is it really a question that should be asked from highly paid professionals?
Well, yeah, they should be highly committed considering how much they get paid. I mean, they get paid with obscene amounts, and but not like as amateurs. Just doing it every week in, week out for nothing, just out of pure enjoyment.
John, why is it that at local level, at grassroots level, there's never a shortage of commitment, it seems, from those who in many cases, and I suspect in your club as well, aren't getting paid a cent for what they're doing?
I think at grassroots level there are no distractions, and I think the distraction for a lot of people is the money side of it, where can I go to get the best deal or whatever, or get the most, get paid the most. And I think when money isn't an issue, you always get the best out of people, because there were no distractions there. It's just a case of do your best and do it because we love what we do.
Do you think players actually get the fact that fans never change their loyalty to clubs? They're there forever, but the players aren't.
I think that could be said for the older ones. Maybe for the younger ones, they tend to mix and match with the clubs. But again, we've got to realise that football is ultimately it's a business, and whether it's about commitment or what, ultimately it's about getting the money in.
That's a good point. Talk some more about that. Thanks for your views on that one. Well, over the past week, we've been gathering together your questions, and we've put them to one of our resident experts. Here's Stu with the view from the Estuary.
Hello, welcome. It's a view from the Estuary. Not all sports people are on the correct salary. You see your footballers, very varied in the top leagues of any country. I'm guessing, especially in England it is anyway. You can't have one player on £180,000 a week. You can't have one player on, say, £10,000 a week. They all do the same job, but because some are branded, as they say, it's like basically a franchise. The rugby players, I think football needs to take a leaf out of their book. They have a wage budget, they have a structure. They've got the things going for them. You don't see any rugby clubs in financial difficulties like you do your Premier League or your bigger clubs. Also rugby league as well, their franchise, they have a set budget per season as well, and they use it to their own initiative. They don't have signing on fees and everything. They basically wait until the player's contract's up, and they just move clubs freely after contract after contract. I think that could be the way forward for most sports, but there are definitely certain people out there who are certainly on the wrong wages. Look at Falcao, he's just moved to Monaco. Is he really worth £284,000 a week? I don't think so. I think it's too soon to say whether he is the correct choice as Everton manager. Time will tell whether he can cut the mustard, shall we say, over at Everton. He's bound to be bringing in his own players and selling a few on as well. There are a few rumours going about Everton players already, but time will tell. Can he get a good place finishing the league next season? Yeah, I think they'll be all right. I don't think it's about performance. From what I saw against Italy, they played really well. Against Norway, not so good. But I think there is a lot of media pressure on any England team, whether they're under 16s, under 21s, the first team. There is a lot of pressure. We could go to the World Cup next year. Everybody will think that we can win it. But I think when we haven't got that pressure, as we saw in Euros a couple of years ago, we did all right. They can give it a go, but I don't think he's going to get caught. Vettel has now won a couple of Grand Prix. We all know what happens when he wins a few Grand Prix. He goes on and dominates the rest of the season. I think Fernando Alonso will be his nearest challenger. Can he catch him this season? I don't think so. Well, that's it from us for this week. Thanks for your questions. Join us again next week where there'll be more questions to be answered. If you want your questions in, then you can get in contact with us. It's facebook.com/Estuary Sport. You can tweet us at Estuary Sport or email studio@estuaryradio.com.
Well, some excellent questions there. Certainly some good talking points to consider. So well done if one of your questions was answered by our reporter this week. As always, if you've got a question for our Estuary boys, simply tweet your question with the hashtag #OnTheBenchTV. Just a quick question on the back of that, John, about Sebastian Vettel. Is he in a position where he's going to be dominating Formula One now? You're a race fan, aren't you?
Certainly, yeah. I think Sebastian Vettel is such a talented driver. I think regardless of obviously the team itself, the Red Bull team have got it pretty much got it together. But I think he's going to be in a position where I think personally he's going to dominate for a long time, and that's showed with recent performances and certainly what he's doing now and for the future. So I think he's going to dominate for a long time.
Okay, John, for now, thank you. We'll keep an eye on that. So join us after the break where we'll be continuing the discussion with our guests, and Matt Denson tries his hand at a spot of martial arts. Welcome back to On the Bench. Now, believe it or not, it's already almost a year since we all witnessed the incredible opening ceremony of London 2012. Well, what followed has gone down in history as one of the greatest Olympic Games of all time, with Team GB exceeding their target medal haul by a long shot. But what has life been like for our competitors since the Games ended last August? Well, last summer, volleyball player Rachel Laybourne was part of a Team GB squad that helped light up a Games and inspire a nation. But post-Olympics, she found herself struggling financially and looking for work, and she's not alone, with up to 16% of Team GB either quitting or retiring. Is this the real legacy of the Olympic Games? Well, certainly an interesting point to think about. John, just talking about this, it's rather worrying, the fact that hero to zero is a thought that springs to mind, really. 1 minute these athletes are right up there in lights, and the next minute they don't seem to be equipped with the tools of the trade.
I think ultimately it comes back to what we were speaking about earlier with the focus on the event, the focus on fitness and performance, and not having to worry about the financial implications. And when that, when the performance thing is taken away and suddenly they go back into the, unfortunately, what we call the real world, then it strikes them at that point. And unfortunately, then it's too late. What
sort of impact did the Olympics have on your sport in particular?
Well, the karate tried to get into the Olympics for 2016 and has just been turned down. And there were really kind of two schools of thought with that. There were a lot of people who like to their take on karate is to enter competitions and to be very competitive in that sense, but it turns into more of a sports karate. And there's the other side, we're involved with traditional karate, and really we like to see karate stay as it is. And really, for some people they'll be disappointed, and some people are quite happy that karate hasn't gone into the Olympics, because unfortunately it might end up like something like taekwondo. Taekwondo this year, the goalpost changed and it just looked ridiculous. And it's unfortunate because people do train really hard to get to that level.
Jason, let's just talk about athletics, your sport, for a moment. And the likes of all the top athletes, it seems just a few have got promising media careers, but for others, well, they're out on their own, aren't they, really? What do you feel should be done? What should be put in place? And who's really responsible for this, we've been hearing?
Well, I think someone get funding, but they might be able to get it, so they'll probably just have to go back to grassroots and just try and compete back to see if we can get back into Team GB again, and basically get by with the funds they have.
And what about the future? Because, as we just mentioned with John, 2016's coming along. If they're not careful, if they're not able to sustain their peak, their fitness, and so on and so forth, then it's going to be a long road back, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we might see them again in 2020 or something. But yeah, if they could struggle, they'll just have to just be like as normal amateur athletes for a while. You
would always dream and hope that some of your young athletes in your club would.
Oh yeah, it'd be great if some of ours went to the Olympics. I mean, we already have one Paralympian in our club, Jamie Carter. Yeah. He was in the Paralympics last year, to the T34 category, if I remember correctly. But even he's trying to get funding at the moment, and just try and get so we can compete in international races. And
so, what would you be instilling into them and into their minds at a young age? Would you be selling the fact that they could be up there in the Olympics, the glitz, the glamour, or would you be mindful of the fact that there is more to it after that?
Oh, we just like to try to encourage them to give it a really good go, make a good effort, and just enjoy it. We'll have some really good young athletes in our club.
It's a point, I'm sure, that we'll run and run a story as well, that'll run and run. Tell you what, John, take a look at this and let us know how you think Matt Denson got on with a spot of jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do it. For the first time, let's find out what jiu-jitsu is all about. This is on the bench, and I'm going to find out if I can actually handle a jiu-jitsu session.
Basically, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is incorporating, if you're against a much larger opponent, how to defend yourself, possibly on the street and in any circumstance.
So about disarming?
Disarming against a bigger person. Not assuming they've got weapons at this stage, that comes much later on in the curriculum.
Okay.
But to start off with, if you find yourself on the street against a much bigger person, how would you defend yourself if they got on top of you, for example? So a lot of it is ground-based techniques. So this is the first basic technique in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu that everyone learns. Everyone goes through this experience when they join the club.
Okay.
Okay? So what we're going to do now is you're just going to try and get me off you, as if your life depended on it. Let's say for 10 seconds.
So we're going to wrestle here?
Not going to wrestle. You're
I'm going to try and get you off.
You're going to try and get me off.
Okay.
Just let's say 10 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Go.
Okay.
All right.
So, how do you feel right now?
Did I win?
Yes. Everyone's a winner. How do you feel right now?
I didn't win, did I? I'm still here.
Quite tired.
Yeah.
Most people.
I lost.
Yes. Just bridge your hips up, north being your head. So I go forward and then turn and roll off. Nice. And then from here, you could either step over and get into mount and then finish the fight that way, or you could get up, run away, go home.
Okay.
So you're safe.
I come round about 5 times a week, usually 4 times here and once down at the judo club. Well, I just get lost out of it. It's the lifestyle teachings as well. So it's self-defence, good fitness, very sociable, great bunch of guys.
The club's brilliant, camaraderie is brilliant, everybody gets on with everybody wants to help you, and that's why I enjoy coming to the club.
I would recommend it to anybody, yeah. Women, you know, we've had a few turn up, but I think they sort of see it as like a lot of men here and sort of puts them off a little bit, but, you know, it's for everybody. It's not just for men, it's for everyone.
To start off with, no gear required, just loose clothing, and we go from there.
So if they turn up in a t-shirt and what?
Or shorts, yeah, it's not a problem. I mean, I've got such good confidence that they will want to continue. I have spare gis and they can just, the next lesson, until they've bought one themselves, I'll just give it, just as I've lent you.
And that's back to the studio.
Matt Denson trying out a bit of jiu-jitsu. So, John, what did you make of that? He got thrown about a bit, didn't he?
He certainly did, excellent. I mean, I've got a love for all the martial arts, whether it's jiu-jitsu or karate or whatever it is, you know, because people have to put so much effort and dedication in to get to the skills that we've just seen.
Are there really clear disciplines between the different the martial arts themselves?
Yes, there are different aspects. I mean, with jiu-jitsu, you get lots of pressure points and throws. You still have an aspect of throws and pressure points within karate, but the emphasis more with karate is to defeat your opponent with one blow, whether that's a punch or a kick or whatever.
Yeah.
So very much like an accent, you know, there's a different idea on an accent, and it's just it goes on that sort of way.
Fancy having a go, Jason?
Oh, definitely, I'm up for that, yeah. But I won't do well, but you know.
John, again, good to see, reassuring that it really is one for all the family, isn't it? And very
Absolutely.
popular as well.
What I find certainly is that because it's ladies that make the decision within the family, and the ladies make the inquiry, they bring the children, and then we end up with the husband come in, so we have lots of families. And again, like I said before, it's really nice to see people enjoying quality time together and progressing through the grades together.
And briefly, what do you need to be asking yourselves if you really want to get involved in this? Do you need to be expecting to get hurt big time?
You don't need any experience. There's a very, very safe sport. There's very few injuries. You know, it's really good for discipline, for self-confidence.
How to get involved
Well,
and where to go?
I mean, well, certainly with my club, I'm on fudishinkarate.com and have beginners courses quite regularly, every month. But certainly have a look at the clubs. There's a lot of clubs in the area. There's a lot of good clubs in the area. Have a look around and see for yourself.
Okay, for now, John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we've got time for this week. Thanks to our guests tonight, Jason Neilson and John McLauchlan, and thank you, of course, for watching. We'll see you next time here at On the Bench, when your host will be Rachel Chadwick. Take care, see you soon.